Good morning. It is 10:30 a.m. It is Sunday. It's actually Bank Holiday Sunday here in the UK, which means that all of the people in the UK get probably a day off tomorrow, or they are working twice as hard if they're in hospitality or retail or something like that. But I got the day off. So it is a wonderful, sunny, sort of sunny Sunday morning. It's 10:30, and that means it is time for Sunday Club. Every week we do some Ruby on Rails live streaming. If you want to go back and look at the history of the channel, you can see that we built out different aspects of an app to do with YouTube and Twitch streaming. And what we're working on at the moment is a ticket purchasing app focusing on allowing people to buy group tickets. And again, you can go back over the last few streams that we're kind of diving in pretty deep as to like how we might model that, and looking at specifically how we might model the even that initial ticket purchasing journey. We looked at a few competitors, and last week we started actually getting a prototype of this working, and basically got just pulled up a little too soon just because of time. I had to head off last week, so let's just dive straight in. Follow up. Not a lot, I don't think. I've just been looking at this, and I think basically last week we slightly higher fidelity prototyped something I had really sketched out before. So I'm keen not to try and cover too much ground that we already covered. So apologies if there was too much duplication last week, but that's what you get when you're looking at a code base from scratch every week. But that's what happens. Okay, so we are other follow-up. I did some admin around this stuff, but nothing that matters. So this week I'm really going to try and do a design-based live stream that seemed pretty popular. It actually has quite a lot of views, and I think it was because I used Figma last time, which basically I just didn't really want to pay for because I don't really use it day to day. And I was thinking about doing the equivalent stream, but with Sketch. So actually like working out how we might get our Sketch components to match the Vue components we have in the app. And like maybe finally make a call. I think I'm kind of leaning away from using Tailwind, but kind of finally make a call on that. Right, let's dive in because that's the only follow-up and that's pretty vague. So let's go back to where we were. Right. So let's move over. Okay, cool. So there we go. I'm just sorting the stream out in the other window. Okay, so we have a order page. Where is that order page? It is here. And this is the type of product we are purchasing. And it's a ticket type, which is, again, go back in the previous stream to take a look at what that is. This is the type of product. This is the ID of that product. I think the assumption is that there's like oh my god, this is it. This is the trouble trying to build something more complex, is that I have to try and hold it in my head from week to week, and okay, I'm going to try and make a bit more commitment to do more prep. I'm sorry. But I think the idea is that you create an order. Yep, okay. And the product records. Well, I guess an order has many line items, and a line item has a product by the looks of things. Oh my god, this is actually a really like good example of how if you're not in a code base from day to day, it may as well be 10 years since you've looked at it. Like there's a certain threshold. Mine's probably about like an hour and a half, where you're just like, I don't remember any of this. It's just like it kind of tickles around the edges, but like it's like a condition that you get into, or like the thing you're working on is like the thing in your brain. Okay, so but anyway, that's like the product type. That's the product ID. So I assume we're thinking of having a polymorphic relationship in there somewhere, because you can have different ticket types. That's to try and head off this idea of having like either donations or like t-shirts, merchandise and stuff like that, all in the same kind of shopping cart, shopping basket notion. This is a label, just a name that's applied to that that product, and then the quantity. And the thing we'd asked in 2 weeks ago was like, do we want to map? So let's say you order 5 tickets. Does that adjust your order to create 5 line items and stuff like that? Or maybe all that modeling is totally wrong. So that's kind of what this prototype was designed to find out. So we're in the order creator, and this is actually, so this is doing real stuff now. So last week we made our models. That's really what the bulk of the work we were trying to accomplish was. So we have real active record models, and the idea of the prototype is that we should be able to go through this ticket processing and have things in the database that represent what the user has done. That's the goal that we're trying to get to, and whether all the nonsense around it is correct. I think we then had line item. Yeah, so these are underscore prototype. These were just the ones we were replacing. So we had this idea of a line item. And so we had then made a, which one was real? Order must be real because that's the name of the model. Okay, so we're making a new one. We have the ticket types, and this sets up this notion of the user doesn't take a persisted, hello in the chat, good morning. So the user doesn't take a persisted shopping cart around with them. They either buy or leave. Last week we talked about the difference between like an e-commerce shopping cart versus a ticketing one, because you have this issue of immediate allocation versus, okay, well they can kind of come browse around, put stuff in their basket, and then come back later. And the checkout and the basket being kind of the same thing here. Again, that's the choice. You don't have to do it that way. But anyway, so this essentially populates the UI with what's purchasable from this event. So none of that is represented here. If you remember from last week, none of that is represented. We don't have this concept of an event yet or anything. This is literally just, and it's called ticket types, but this should actually be stuff you can buy, stuff you can add up to a line item in this page, which is fair enough. Then we went away and built that UI. Yeah, we went away and built that UI, and then the issue is that because the resource we're actually creating here is an order. Let me bump this font size up. The resource we're actually creating here is an order. I've created this order creator. Right, okay, and that has this thing called a cart. And the cart we started to mock out as well. Right, okay, so this isn't an active record model because we're not persisting it. Yeah, I wonder if like something more like a form object is potentially more helpful here. So we actually pass a form object to that view. And how you doing? I'm doing well, actually. I'm doing very well on this fine Sunday morning. I am not doing very well on remembering what we were doing last week, but other than that, I'm doing well. How about you? How's life? Okay, so we've got this. I'm basically debating if we actually here instead had this. I'm not sure quite why. And maybe this was like I had one day off from typing. We had this kind of form object, and it's been a while since I've done a form object, but like I don't think we're a million miles away from it, because that's essentially what we're doing here. We're just building a cart object from... Yeah, so we're essentially building a cart object, a form object here, sort of. And when I'm just looking at what this does. So this basically takes a bunch of params. And for each one, it makes a new cart item. Again, we don't actually care about persisting those because it's the line item we're trying to make, I guess. Which is the thing we... What's this? That's the snapshot of purchase. Then that gets added to our kind of like incident, what is essentially a form object, I think. Oh, yeah, I've really got to look at this between Sundays. And what do we then do with that cart? Oh, hey, okay, so we've validated the order that so that people can't mess with the params. Okay, fine. We then pass that to the order creator. What does that do? It's just looking at last week's code. So for each one, it goes and finds the product. So this assumes that there is an active record model for each product, which in this case there might be because we have tickets, so we can make one for ticket type. Okay, so where did we actually get to with this? Because does this work? Like what actually happens when I, let's bump the font size up here. So we're going to try and buy 5 of these. Where does this break? Okay, so it gets to here. What's in order params, cart items? Quantity of 5. Right, and that's because in here... What are the actual params? Bump the font size up on this some more. So hopefully this is a bit readable. One of the things I wanted to make a note of is that I don't think I'm streaming these live streams at like the highest possible quality. So I think if you watch them back, I think they could be more. I'm gonna look, people on Reddit were super helpful last time, so I'm gonna ask them again. Because I think this is like at 720, and maybe it could be at 1080, but I don't know how to do that in OBS. Cart items. Oh, okay. This was this thing where because we didn't have the right. Okay, maybe a form object is better, but we can just remove all of the. We appended the IDs when we had more than one because I was trying to demonstrate what we lost by not using. Where does that happen? That must happen in the view. Yeah, here. So let's just remove these temporarily. We know that that's a problem, but we could. Get that solved. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so this is all quick and dirty, but we don't care. Okay, fine. Oh shit, no, because that just skip the pry. Okay, let's try this again then. Okay, so this time, does this have more stuff in it? Yes, great. Okay, so yep, we're just gonna absolve ourselves of that problem for now. But we need to solve that idea of like Rails generates those IDs for us as it creates new things. So it's like cart item 1, cart item 2, cart item 3, so that each form element has the correct name and stuff. We just skipped that because we weren't doing things properly. Not a big deal, so we'll come back to that later. But for now, we have product type, ticket type 1. Okay, so this is good. So that's next. Great, okay, so undefined document for a product type for orders controller. typo. I'm gonna go back through. No, I think we just got stuck. There we go. How about now? No, implicit conversion of symbol to integer. Okay, I think I probably... Where did that happen? Product type. I'm not sure what cart item params product type was. Okay, killed that. Okay, cool. So we're just going to try and debug this real quick rather than actually writing it properly, which is not ideal, but let's just... Oh, item per... Oh, okay, so I need to be in the... Does it bomb on the next bit? Yeah, okay. So here... There's no way else to... so I have product... What do I have in here then? Ah, see, this is the downside of me, like... Oh, each of these will produce a... Oh, okay, each of these is a key value pair. I'm an idiot. Okay, whereas what I... So if I do... that... Oh, it wants like... Right, okay, that's stupid because I'm... Right, okay, let's not worry about that. Let's just, we... Because I'm trying to leave... what I wanted to do was... Right. So this was supposed to be an array of cart items. It is now not because we didn't do the work to make them a collection of cart items. So it is a cart item and I'm now accidentally looping over the params in it. Right, that's stupid. So I now basically don't need that. Let's just make a note of this. Right, we're prototyping. It doesn't matter. Skipping because we don't have a collection. Okay, fine. So we just have a cart item. Oops, I saved the line that I was playing around with earlier. Right, okay, so we get, that should be interesting to, I haven't done form objects in a while, so it'd be too interesting to come back and like do a live stream on this specifically. Okay, so then next, oh, so here we should, here do we get a value back then? No. Because now I've got, now. So this should now be, oh, come on. It is still cart items. The cart items is just one thing. Yeah, I'm definitely causing myself more. Great, okay, so now we've got a different error, create line items we are in. And that is because we're in here. And is that just each vanilla? Okay, so cart contents has never been set here. So right now we got to where we transferred over some dummy code but didn't actually populate it. At cart is at cart items, so presumably in here. So we can take this out now that we know we're hitting that. And we can send the request. So what is cart? Cart items. Right, so that we just adjust the code to use that, I think. This is like a lot of work just to check one kind of assumption that I had about how we want to structure this, but I wonder how differently I'm doing this, because I'm doing it on the live stream versus like kind of questions that you'd answer. Maybe you would spend hours doing it. Like combined, I haven't really spent that much time. It's probably like only a few hours. Great. Okay, so this is then what we don't have. So did we create a product model? Yes. Was product an active record model? No, but I think ticket type was. Yes, it was. Okay. Let's just assume. Where did ID come from? Prototype code. Okay. Again, because this isn't what we're actually trying to test out. Like, this doesn't matter. What have we actually got in that cart item? Okay, so you could. Okay, so we can do this. This might not be. Item dot product type. I'm gonna make the font as big as possible because that little, I guess, hard to see. Oh, because it's ticket type 1 rather than ticket type. We can just change that in the UI. This could do that. And then we would have and we would have, oh my god, I'm trying to get to the end of this. What was product ID? So you wouldn't do this, but I'm basically just trying to wire up our active record. So that's, again, we're just prototyping. This is basically saying the line I'm trying to kind of like show myself is like, this is from a dynamic list of product IDs. So we could then, can we do that in here? Can we do ticket type dot create? Yes, okay. Cool. Okay. So then we can get out of. Let me just send the whole. Need to get back again. Great. So that's now ticket type. Next step. Oh, we still left that other line in there. But what does this bring us back? Great, so that brings us back our record. So that's like, we are retrieving a product from the DB. I just left the other line in there. Great. I'm not explaining too much what I'm doing here. And this is product equals. Okay, so. Undefined method to create line items for car items. So this is really, this is where I was trying to get to like last week. So, and it was this idea of maybe inheritance is an awful model for this, but this could be of type product, but and they could all do this, but right, so we had an example of this. Create line items for car item was in our initial prototype. Yeah. We don't create one line item for many attendees. It was this one, I think, we wanted to do. And no idea where we got to with line item. Let's just see what this does. Oh. Undefined method times for one string. Does one dot times not work? Oh, is it because it's like that instead of? That's a param, presumably. Okay, I'm just gonna brush over that. I'm aware that we should have coerced. That should be a integer for earlier on, but again, let's not worry about the details or doing things correctly. That is very much not what we are here for. So let's do this. Product for line item. Okay, great. So what does line item expect? Line item. Right. This is now going to start to help us answer the question that I originally wanted to answer, which is how would we like to structure this notion of creating a ticket or an attendee and tying that back to the financial record of the actual transaction that took place, and what do we care about being able to recreate from that? How disassociated should they get? And that's everything else up until here has just been like, kind of like, hey, here is sort of what would happen, but it's just Railsy, active recordy stuff. We don't really need to worry about that. The only thing I think is like maybe you could like we haven't modeled that cart idea of having the form object. We're not persisting those, but then you could like bump into things like if you allow people to persist them, could you email them afterwards and be like, hey, did you want to finish that order or something like that? You could do stuff like that, but who cares? Right. Okay. So line item currently has nothing. Did we put anything in the migration? Line items quantity. No. Okay, great. So let's work out what they have. They have... I think... I can't remember who it was on the chat last week, but this mentioned that idea of what's the new Rails thing that they took? That's is it like something variants for like for single table inheritance stuff in Rails? There's now like an official better way of doing that, or like a different way of doing it, where you have one core table that is like products and only differing values. But differing values get their own table in the database, and Rails will essentially know to join the two tables together. Sounds terrifying, but so basically what a line item has is a product. But let's just put that it has a ticket type for now, because... Or am I shooting myself in the foot by not doing it properly? Yeah, okay, let's turn product. Let's turn product into the actual active record. Object, let's do that. We're going to generate a migration. Create products. And they're going to have a name. And that's... Yeah, because presumably we're just going to worry about all the pricing stuff later, so we can just have a name. And... yeah, that'll do. Sorry, I'm just staring off into... Oh, morning, Finney. Delegated types is exactly what I'm looking for. Delegated types. Okay, cool. Thank you. That is the thing in Rails that I think we could potentially use here. So we could create the products, and give them a name. So let's... We didn't even do that here. We just gave them an ID. Do we want to go and look at that delegate type? No, we'll just oh, so as this is STR, do I now need to put do I have to put the type and the type on here as well now manually for STI stuff? Do I need to put in oh no, it'd already have the ID, wouldn't it? Would it need to be like product? Oops, no, other way around. Is that right? Or is there like a Rails way of doing that? It's always like just when Googling same thing. I'm just looking, do I need add the type attribute to your base model? Add type string. Oh, okay, so you just said type. Oh wait, is this for this new? How is it when you've done something before, but then when you come back to look at it, your brain is like, this is essentially new information to me. So this is built in STI. So then, I guess we'll go and look it up now. So this is this idea of like productable, I assume. And then here it passes in. Okay, I'm just gonna add the type thing. Fuck it, that'll do for now. Yeah, let's just carry on because we'll learn more by doing. We'll probably learn more by doing. That feels right. Doesn't sound right. Create products. Great. Okay, so now we have this thing called a product. So which means we don't really care about ticket type right now. That's the wrong one I'm looking for. Here we already have a model for that product that can then inherit from that can all go. And if we fire up a console, can we now do great. Okay, so then we can do one oh, okay, so it actually has to be ticket type is not a subclass. Okay, right, so we actually are doing stuff officially. Cool. Hang on a second, So we're skipping the delegated type stuff. Product. Great. Okay, so now we have this thing, right? And that means we can now adjust our. This is all hopefully still helping us answer this question, but I'm not 100% sure whether it is or not, but let's not worry about that. That means we need to adjust our creator logic because now we are doing product dot where something. Something like that. Okay, let's see what that does. So super rough, but we've got this idea where there are products, which are things you can purchase. So each ticket type on an event could be a different type of product, but then you could have other types of things. We've got this idea of a ticket type. It's ID number 1, which is what we just made in the console. Ticket type and 1. So hopefully it'll find that product on the way through. Create line from ticket type, ticket for event. What actual error did we get here? Undefined method. So that is on an instance of ticket type. But what we actually get back is product. Okay. So we could actually, rather than doing that, could we do what we had? This is all probably a bad idea. So in here, instead of doing this, let's just duplicate that for a second. But what we actually had previously was that dot that, I think. Then it is an instance of the thing. Great. Okay. An attribute product line item. Okay, so this is what I changed there is because I was doing product, I was getting an instance of product back, whereas by constantizing the type that you're getting back, you're actually getting back an instance. So then you can you're calling the create line items for cart item instance method on the ticket type, basically, because and the reason why you want to do that is because this is different for each type of product. In reality, you probably might not even want it on there. You might have you might have a class that's just designed to handle this. So maybe the ticket type, maybe its job isn't to know about that. You could kind of make that call later, but you could have an entire class that was just for each different product type is going to have its own rules about the line items it produces. At the moment, we've put that on the instance itself, but you could have a class whose job it was just to know about that. Fair enough. Again, doesn't make or break anything now. We're still just answering our questions. Right, okay. So then we didn't have anything on line item that we actually wanted. So a line item then has this notion of knowing about product. Yeah, I'm just sorry. I'm just pausing. I'm just thinking through our. So we basically want to tell line item that it needs to support a product. I think we do anyway. And can we do this with, is this one of those ones we can do with Visual Create? Can you do this one with like references and it knows how to do the thing? I never end up using references. I always end up doing it. references. So add references uses. Okay, so add reference line items, and is I've just seen this one. Was this what was the line itemable? Was the product the line itemable? Is this what we talked about before? I remember using the word line itemable a lot a couple of weeks ago. Or is the attendee? The attendee is the line item, right? That's the actual artifact that gets created from the existence of the line item. The product is simply a reference that we care about. Like we just want to know that it was like product 1, 2, 3, right? Yeah. So add reference line items. Product. And will it know because it's got a type to add in the thing? Add in the type and the ID? I don't know. See what happens next. I can never remember which way around these goes. So add reference. Okay, what actually happened just then? Oh, I forgot we were also trying to commit as we went, but as we did stuff to the database, but let's not worry about that either. No, it only has product ID. So that should be what? Polymorphic true, I guess? Because it needs to have the correct product type as well. But that's not got the... No, I think I'm doing that wrong. Yeah, am I doing that the wrong way around? Yeah, I'm definitely making something very simple, very hard there. Rails. Is it? Do we just have to do that manually where I put the type in as well? Okay, this is the downside of me. There's a typo in the polymorphic that didn't raise. Ah, you're a star. Right, is that what I've got a type there then? Oh, okay. Hang on a second, my other screen is doing stuff. Okay, so... So we think we now got a different value from that. So we then have product type and product date. Amazing. That seems really annoying. So you can just pass like that to a migration and it's just like, yeah, cool. I guess it's then you can do your own stuff to it. Okay. So we only want it to have one, right? So a line item has one product. Thank you so much, by the way, in the chat. Finian, you're an absolute star. I'm not even sure this is. Apparently seems like hosting you. Oh, cool. Okay. That seems fun. Yeah, I guess it's so you can just pass arbitrary data to migration lines and do stuff with them. Okay, so line item new dot product. Is that real? And I keep column. Oh, I done it the wrong way around. Do it the wrong way around. Does this then? Will that do? Has one product? Yeah, okay. Can't remember if you actually query product, you get the last one of any type. Yeah, okay. I'm just I can't write unknown attribute line item ID. I think I'm just screwing that up. So does this just not need that? Because it doesn't care. Expected, got ticket type. Okay, so we are saying you can have a product of any type. I guess this is what that delegated types thing solved, where it said, here, you can have an array of these things. But it got a ticket type rather than a product, even though one... I feel like I've done all this before. Can't have a single because the foreign can... Yeah, okay. So this actually makes a lot more sense to do with the new fancy stuff. Okay, fine. Let's just do this for now, just to get us through the... Okay, so now we have a line item. Okay, so this is what we've ended up with. So in here, no, in our product. Oh, actually, will product, will that work? Because it knows what that is. I don't know, that should be product for line item. No, okay. So yeah, that was me just screwing. I think I've screwed all that up, but it doesn't really matter because I think we got to where we want to be. Order method, line items for order. What does order have now? It is a real order. Okay. Line items each. So create line itemables for order. Okay. So this is when we then start to get into our line itemables. Right. I might just keep going. So that's messy and I think not correct in any way, but we basically now have this idea where none of this is being persisted because I think it's within that transaction. But we should, so if we comment out this one and create our order, I think we should end up with an order. And I think it should have... That's made one. Okay, what happens if we do this? Oh, is it caught in the... No template found for orders create rendering head, no content. Okay, did I not put something in the controller to redirect back? Hang on a second. Orders controller. Create redirect to new order path. And then we'll just put in a something like, I can't remember how the syntax for that either. Okay, so well, we are not rendering out any flashes. Okay. So that's pointless. Okay, so complete 200. So do we then have... Yes, we have more orders. Order count 2. Okay. Great. So we're now persisting orders. Are we persisting line items? Yes. So line item 4. Line item 5. Okay, amazing. Great. So we're now persisting things. So that again is now really where we want to get to. So this idea of line itemables. So if we bought 3 things, so this one, we have 5 line items at the moment. We then hit next step. We now have 8 line items because when we ordered 3 of something, rather than having 1 line item that said 3, we created 3 line items that said 1. And we talked about this idea of the pricing having... You can't do that normally because you would end up with weird pricing stuff. Like when we looked at the Eventbrite admin, which had... You tried to type in 3 tickets for £10. Well, you couldn't do that. So when you actually got to the next page, you had 3 tickets at £3.33 each. So obviously the order was only £9.99. And that's because the only way you were able to produce £10 for 3 was in the admin UI, because a user couldn't get to that themselves, presumably. But I wondered if that was something like this, where they were chopping up the order into separate individually priced units so that you could associate those line items with the ticket being purchased. Oh, hello in chat. Sorry, I was rabbiting on. We are working on a kind of ticketing application specifically looking at group tickets, people buying group tickets. And what we're looking at the moment is this idea of like, could you also allow people to buy not tickets in there? So how complex you make the kind of cart, I guess, the shopping cart before they click purchase. And what we're looking at here is this idea of like, we've created our cart, we've created our order. It's all junk code, like that's all fine, but we've ended up with a rough thing where we've got, this is a product type, this is a product ID, so that's just, you can buy stuff. It doesn't matter what that thing is necessarily. You then have a quantity of those that you're buying, and when you try and create the order, we will look up this product type and this product ID. We will validate all that stuff, go and create an instance of that, or you could have a class that knew the rules, and it says, right, when I'm purchasing this, do this. And what the rules for this one say is for each line item that gets created, for each thing that gets created, for each product gets created, create a new line item. Because you wouldn't have to do that for e-commerce products. Then you could buy 3 and it could just create one line item that just had a quantity of 3. So it's only for ticket types that we're deliberately doing this and forcing this to go through. And it would be the price on here that I think that would get all screwed up if we did like 3 for £10. Which is what makes me think this might be a bad idea. And the other thing we talked about was this idea of doing, let's add this while I remember, because I'll forget otherwise. Let's add, what could it be called? Like line item group. So this idea of like, how would we not back ourselves into a corner of doing this? And what I mean by that is, let's say that we change our mind and we've screwed this up, or in the more simpler case that we want to show the user a shopping cart where we have under the hood chopped each ticket purchase, so they've typed in like ticket, I want a early bird ticket, and I want 3 of them. We have separated that out into 3 line items, but when we show the user their invoice, we just want to show them the one line. So we need to know that they were grouped together. And we could group them just by the ticket type, but maybe they had like, I guess you could just group them by the ticket type. But I don't know if that would... I guess variance is where you would get, going back to that e-commerce idea of variance. Keep trying to jump too far ahead. But you could have line item group reference, like oh wait, what's which way around does this go? Never remember. Let's add is table name, column type. Okay, so that should be text. Line item group reference, that'll do. And what I mean by that is then you could have, we talked about just create line items of cart items, so you can have like is it that? Yeah. This is super messy, but it doesn't matter. So I think you could just group them by this, but I'm not entirely convinced. So if you were worried about that, you could just stick something in so that you're saying, right, here is a piece of data that binds all of these things together, so that if I have to group them all together later and this doesn't cut it, maybe it's wasted data for now, but maybe I could group them back with that. So and everything's in a transaction, so if it screws up, it won't you shouldn't end up, hopefully, again, I haven't really written test or anything, but you shouldn't end up with line items that should be in the same group with the wrong reference, because this should all be within a transaction. So either they all save or none of them save. So now if we do this, start a server back up. So we're going to do this, and then we are going to get our line itemables working. So we're going to buy 4 of these. No, we're not. Unknown attribute line item group reference. I thought did we not run the migration? Did I bound to have spelled it wrong or something? I put it on the wrong table or something like that. Add column line items. Wait. What? Unknown type line items group reference for column text. Oh, wait, hang on a second. I've done them the wrong way for column text. I thought I just checked that it was add column, table name, column name type. Yeah, I did read it. I just read it totally the other way around. Text. Okay, fine. The work would have to do the rollback, which then will fail. Right, so now do we have... Add column line items. Table name, column name, type. In. Oh, it won't do schema load because it's broken the schema. How do I regenerate the schema? Oh, rake schema, DB schema dump will do that? Cannot dump table line items because the following standard error, unknown type for column text. I thought I'd fix that. Add column line items. Oh, wait. When I did the rollback, had I already done this? Okay, is that already in there? Great. Okay, cool. Sorry about that. I totally screwed that up by putting... I actually checked. I looked at the documentation. I'll close it now, but I genuinely looked at it and was like, oh yeah, put them that way around, and then just full on put them the other way around. So apologies for that. Motherfucker. Is this because I've totally broken the thing just by putting them the wrong way around? Colonnade. So now I have to now remove this from here. No, because it's actually in the DB. Now do I have to do... But I can't do the rollback. Oh, for God's sake. Because it's not in there yet. Let me just put that back and just do schema load. Sorry about this. Right, okay. That's all nonsense. That's all. I literally just caused that. Wasting everyone's time. Wait, how is there still a pending migration? Oh, do I have to do the stupid thing with the timestamps and stuff? 307. I have no idea if this is right. Like, genuinely, just trying to get out of this. Gonna let us out? No, because the migrations are stored. Oh, well, there's a button for that now. Duplicate column name. So I need to. But if that's already there, but I can't run rollback on it, do I have to like? What is it, like DB clear? Oh my God, I've totally made a bucket drop it. Yeah, does clear do that? Reset do that for you? Right, which one have I ended up with? I wonder if I screwed that up by doing the one there. Right, let's give that another try. I bet reset doesn't do what I think it does. It did say dropped and created though, so I'm hoping. Okay, right. Literally, apologies for that. That literally just took us down a 5-minute rabbit hole that didn't matter. Oh no! And I made the ticket type by hand. This is create, and it was like name some ticket type or something. I can't remember. Great. Okay, so we now have a ticket type that is type 1. That's all we care about. So let's try it again. Great. Okay, so we should have line items in there now as well. Line item.count 3. Amazing. So what are we doing? Okay. Oh, so we're checking the reference. We're checking the reference. Reference. Right. Great. Okay, so they've got this UUID in here. And if we look at so they've all got the same UUID, and then if we just buy another 3, I'm gonna sneeze. So you can see these are grouped. Each set has their own UUID. So we could use that. So we could either use the product type and product ID to group, or we could actually explicitly add a reference value to say no, we're grouping these together ourselves. That might also, yeah, I think variance might be the thing that I was thinking of. Like you could have, like the product type could be. But then you wouldn't want a club 6 if you like 3 mediums. Fuck it. Right, let's keep going. So line itemables is the thing we're interested in. Line itemables. Now, what is a line itemable? Because that is the main question we were trying to answer. So we've chopped this up into a line item per thing we want to purchase. Not sure that's a good idea, but we're going to do it. We then need to generate the things that we are going to purchase. So in our order, we have a bunch of line items. But we haven't associated the fucking line item. Sorry, I'm swearing a lot this morning. We haven't actually associated the line items because we're so busy associating them with the product. I think we forgot to add in the association to an order. Is that correct? Let's just go and look, because I'm about to go and screw up another set of migrations if it is. Line item has one ticket. Right. A line item belongs to an order. And an order has many line items. And we think that that's all fine. And we're going to go and add the migration to add order ID to migration add order ID to okay, and in here we are going to do it the wrong way around again just to screw up. Let's add column. We are adding it to line items. I genuinely have forgotten, and we add the, and it is order ID, and these are all big num now. Is that a thing in SQLite? Because that's what we're using under the hood. Fuck it, doesn't matter. Just put integer. Doesn't matter. Don't care. Wait, hang on. Let me just check I've done that right around. We are adding a column to line items. References the order ID. I'm just going to take an extra 10 seconds here just to check that we're doing this. It's orders.id. So that's, we will store an order ID in here. That will simply point to an order. It is the name of the table, the name of the field, and then the type. Okay. Okay, so fine. But now when we create the line items in the product, we were already passing the order through. We were so close. We had actually nearly got there. So let's do... These are all nil, but now if we purchase something, should have two that have an order ID. Yes, they're from order number 3. Cool. Okay, so what are we doing? Right, so now line items know what order they're from. Okay, so now we can do at order dot line items. Great. So for each line item. Oh, so this is really shitty design. So yeah, this is why this is about. So this second part relies on this first part not changing. So this idea of looping over the line item and then creating an instance of the line itemable from the product it has. These are now tightly coupled together. Basically, they have to. No, not those two. This method here, the create line items for cart item, and then this one here. If you change how this one works, because here we're working off the line items, this one changes too. So I think in reality, you wouldn't have it this way. This wouldn't, I'm not sure it's a good design to start with, but even if you did it, you would need to have one place where you called and do all that at the same time. I don't think the order creator is the place to do it. So what do I mean? What do I actually mean by that? Like, table column type, I have it stamped into my skull as master. How do you, Finney and I that have nothing stamped into my skull? I can't remember any of this stuff from week to week, genuinely. Like, how many migrations have I written in my life? A gajillion? I don't know. I can't remember. You're well done if you managed to remember any of this stuff. I just went and read the docs and still typed it in the wrong way around. Like I only had to remember it from the 4 seconds it took me to like go and read it and then to type it in. It still didn't stick. So what do I mean by this being a crappy design? So basically, this idea of creating multiple line items for different quantities. So we got I want 3 tickets. Type in number 3, create 3 line items. Great. But then here we're creating the line itemables, i.e. the things the person has purchased. This could be in our case it's going to be an attendee, which should represent a ticket, but it could be like a donation or a t-shirt or whatever the thing is, if we're trying to treat it more like an e-commerce system. Here we're creating 3 line items, but if we change that and only have one line item that can have say like, oh yeah, now one line item represents 3 tickets, this will no longer create 3 attendees. So this needs to work in the same way as this all the time. Does that mean that they should be fully disassociated, or does it mean that this, just because I've done this as a quickie, that actually if this was in there and within a transaction it would be fine? Or does it mean no, you should be generating the, like, why are we doing this in a 2-step process? Like, why would we not in here create the line item and its artifact at the same time? That doesn't seem great, because you would... interesting. Okay, these are the questions that we came here to answer. Like, this is why we built the stupid prototyping, to think this stuff through. So it may look like we're all wasting our time, but actually this is useful. Because again, I'm making our lives harder here by putting in this notion of like that. What we're playing around here is fake complexity, because you can't do this in a lot of event systems. Like, they don't let you mix and match at the shopping cart phase. It's like, here's an event, you're buying tickets for it. The other stuff comes later in that process. The reason I'm exploring this is because it was such a common request when we did event software. It was like, actually, we want users to, at the point of the event, we want to sell them extra crap, but we want to have that crap available at, and not by crap I mean highly lovely products and whatever. But it could be donating, it could be merch, it could be other things. And also it was like, we don't want them to have to buy a ticket in order to go through that purchase process. So let's say you go to a charity event page and you actually don't want to buy a ticket, but you're willing to cough up 100 quid just for the event to go ahead. Like, maybe that's a thing. So you could send them off down a different checkout path, or maybe they just want to buy a t-shirt for the event without buying a ticket. That is another idea. Or they've already bought 3 tickets and now their friend lost their t-shirts, they just need to pick one up. Maybe this is super stupid, and the reason that most event software doesn't do this is because it's a random complexity for what must be absolute minimum financial gain, because all you really need to say to the user is just like, no, you have to buy it from the shop or something like that, or whatever. But I'm interested. I'm interested, genuinely, and I don't know. I didn't make you come and watch this. It's like this. Okay, so this is a bad, and by bad I mean brittle design. Because changing the way one part works will break another part really easily, and that's just, I mean, that is bad. Let's keep going. let's keep going so that we have stuff being pumped out. So for our product, yeah, so even for line item dot product, we'd need to do it. Even that adds complexity, because like dot product won't work because we'd need to do this again. But instead of the cart item, it would be the line items. That would be the product. And then it would be that. Yeah, okay. Create line itemables for line items. So I think we did a version of this somewhere. Create line itemables. Okay. So this was crappy prototypey code from the other week. Create line itemables for line item. Create one line item with many attendees. So we've got our line item here. Because this is for ticket type, we now know that we are creating one attendee for line item. So now we need an attendee. And they can have like and then we could have a 4-hour debate about whether to use first name, last name, or just name, and all of that fun stuff. But let's not bother doing that. And they need to know about the line item. How do you do that in the shorthand? God, I never remember this stuff. Does an attendee have to have a line item? Yeah, for now. Okay, fine. Okay, so just made all that up. But just to go back to what I was saying about adding all of that fake complexity up front, the reason that I'm interested to do that is because I'm on my second round of this, is that what we did last time is not build that. And we built something where it's like, no, you're at an event. These are the ticket types you can have. Try and handle group stuff. Like we built it all out. And it was then when the feature request came in of like, actually, we want to do X, Y, and Z at the top of the funnel. Like the top of the user journey. I was like, that is a real pain in the ass. And so we would basically just say, like many product requests, be like, we'll look into it. And that's fine. That product is still exists in the world. But like, what I was interested in is like how I would like to explore what that would look like. Whereas if we were doing this the first time round, I think I wouldn't be interested in that because I would want to just get to, like a more like the ones we looked at the other day for Eventbrite and stuff. It's like, no, here's the ticket types that are available. Go through like whatever. We know that everything that's going to get purchased is a ticket type. We don't need to have this we wouldn't even need to have this concept of a product as a higher order thing. Like an abstraction of that, you just be like, no, everything's a ticket type because that's the thing. And that is like a primary resource on like the Eventbrite API, I think. So that hopefully that's just some context as to why I think this is interesting. I don't think I would think it was interesting unless I had that specific experience. I think otherwise I'd just be like, yeah, well, they can buy tickets, and then we come back to everything else later. But it was actually easier to basically because you start like you could have you start thinking like, oh well, maybe t-shirts could be like their own ticket type, and then you end up with this whole world of pain in the bum. Okay, so we've done that. We've created attendees. So did that work? Oh, we couldn't make a model. Yeah, I was doing really well last week on actually remembering to commit things and stuff like that. We had each little commit was going a bit. Thing that. And this. See, I don't even know if that's a good idea. Oh, wait, hang on a second. I'm totally skipping a step. This is not. This is a line itemable. And so line item should have line itemable type and ID rather than the other way around. Let's just see if this works to start with. But I think I've done that the wrong way around. Create line item, line item in ticket type. Oh, so this. Yes. Okay. So that. I think that might work. So let's have 3 of these. Okay. So if we do. Do anything. I didn't save this. Cool. Can I write unknown attribute attendee ID? Yeah, I think I did that wrong. Might be weird to have one-to-one. Yeah, sorry. Pedro, just check the chat. A line item connects to attendee, but inverse is strange. Yeah, so sorry. I think I've done that wrong. So Pedro has put in the chat. It might be weird to have a one-to-one map between line item and attendee. A line item can map to a single attendee, but the inverse is strange. Yeah, I also think it's not. I think that the line item has a line itemable. So then when we're actually doing the. This goes back to that this being a crappy design. Which is. I'm just trying to think through like creating an attendee is so different from creating like a t-shirt purchase or something like that. Like because you're gonna have things like I'm thinking of specifically the allocation stuff. You need right. Okay, let's change what we've just done there because that is wrong. Like I've got an attendee, but literally haven't added the concept of an event in any way. All right. Okay. So here. I need to get rid of that last migration. Yeah, I did that the wrong way. Oh no, that was create attendees. Oh yeah, it's just because I don't need attendee. Don't know about that. So, oh, but wait, am I not doing attendee? Am I doing? Is this actually? Oh, does this go back to the conversation we were having earlier around delegated types? So these are all line itemables. I don't know if this helps, but as an attendee, I can have multiple line items for a single event, like talks and workshops for a conference, for instance. Yeah. So this, so that is. I think on the Eventbrite API, if you were to buy so the example Pedro is giving is like you go to a conference and you buy tickets to, like, let's say it's a 3-day conference and you buy tickets. No, let's say it's a 1-day conference, but you have tickets to the talks in the morning and the workshops in the afternoon or something like that. I think that they would be for Eventbrite, I think that you would be a different attendee for both of those things. I think. Because maybe I'm completely wrong. Does the attendee have multiple? Not that I'm saying we have to. Not that I'm saying I'm lifting this API design or anything, but like, there is a point at which because if you remember that when we looked at Event Create or whatever they were called, they introduced this idea of sessions, which is that within one event you could then have multiple. Within one ticket type, you could then have multiple sessions, which I think is sort of more like Pedro's example of like, okay, well actually I'm the same person, but I'm going to 3 things within this event. Right, so what are we looking for? Ticket class, okay, so ticket type for an event, free paid donation. So this is what they call a donation, but to clarify what I was talking about earlier, this is basically like sort of an additional free ticket. The donation aspect I was talking about was because we were doing stuff in the UK with gift aid, and you couldn't have. We had pay what you want tickets, but you couldn't call that a donation because you couldn't claim gift aid because you were getting a ticket in return. And so we did have 2 different versions, whereas the donation and the other aspect was that the donation checkout flow had different stuff in it as well, about GDPR. So that was why we couldn't just call donation a ticket type as Eventbrite are doing here in that other application. Because there were just 2 divergent processes, whereas like this is sort of a pay what you want ticket by the sounds of it. To enter the discretion amount to donate during the checkout, there is no fixed cost of donation. I don't know if that would handle gift aid. So ticket prices going to communicate. Ticket prices served. Where's attendee? So ticket holder to an event. An event is specified to only collect information on the order or return to attendee of the same information with barcodes from the barcodes and ticket class ID. So an event has multiple ticket types, I assume, because it's the event. Right, here's my understanding of what this is saying from the other week. Ticket holder, the model is 1 attendee per each ticket sold, but each ticket has to map to a ticket class. So if the ticket classes were workshops and talks, I think you would have 2 attendee instances. Does that sound like what that's actually saying? If the event is specific, I'm really glad I picked this like domain space to fuck around in, because it's so bonkers. Like, how can something so straightforward be like have this many variations? Like, hey, I'm going to a conference, cool. Da-da. Yes, okay, I think like the number of ways you can back yourself into just an absolute pain in the ass corner is pretty wild. Let's I'm just going to keep getting myself back out of that thing. So what we were actually talking about was this idea of having having like a line item. What was that article earlier about just looking to see if like what's the actual record that gets created for these delegated types? Where are the docs for this? How do you actually... I'm assuming the table name is... parent table which holds... Note that we don't have a single giant table anymore. We do still have the 2 tables from the first game, but now they reference a parent. Where? Oh, they don't reference a parent. It's a parent references them. Maybe next week we should just dive into delegated types in more detail, because that seems like something I keep bumping into and should know more about. Because I'm not 100% sure how to set it up in terms of the migration. Like, am I just... can I do it with just creating the base class, the base table, and then do the others later, or do I have to do all 3 up front? Okay, there isn't a huge amount of docs on that. Okay, maybe we can kind of kick into that next week. Okay, so let's assume there's... sorry, I'm just going to go back just so I don't back myself into a corner. Oh, here we go. Schema. Entries. So entry... But I don't really even have, so the table itself, like that's called entries. But I don't have a concept of like, yeah, line itemables would be good enough. And that could be ticket, attendee, donation, other stuff. So ID, account ID, creator ID. So this could be like line item ID. No, because it is the line item that has a reference out and not back. So maybe it's just a polymorphic. Yeah, maybe it's just polymorphic and it just, the line item has one of something. And we don't actually need that right? Where does the polymorphic bit go? On the, this one or the other one? So you'd think, bearing in mind I'd only done it earlier in this stream, that I would remember. But you would be wrong. What's the belongs to? Okay, so line item has one line itemable. So on the attendee, do you need to do the as? I think I'm doing this the wrong way around. Every time I do this the wrong way around. My brain is incapable of storing this. No, the line item is the thing that has the belongs to because it's the one that has the things. Yeah. Belongs to line itemable. Polymorphic true. So then that has migration because we can get rid of the other one. Yeah, it's amazing how lost I can get myself in 5 to 10 minutes. So we want to... What does that become? Line itemable ID? Integer line itemable type. What? That is not a plural type. Okay. I don't know. Let's see what happens now. so now when we do this, great. So we can at least have an API that recognizes that. And then on the attendee, we can say, why am I incapable of getting that in my brain the right way around? Like, why do I have to go around that thought process every time I do this? This is what I was saying to Finian earlier. Like, so now I should be able to do that one? No. Great, okay. And so when we create the line items, yeah, maybe we could do it all in here then. Create line items for cart items. So in here, could we even do it here? And then we don't have to call this. Or this kind of slightly resolves our issue of having 2 bits of code, although the... Does this work? Okay, so I want 3 people. Can't write unknown attribute line itemable ID. Great. Okay, so now I just restart the server then. I think that was just... so now we have attendees. And the attendee.last.line item is this one. Right, okay. So we now have... So in this notion, this design, an attendee is effectively a ticket for an individual instance of a ticket type. So it's like an early bird ticket for an event. Pedro's question earlier is like, what happens if the event is actually made up of 2 sessions, like the event create ones? I'm gonna look up their docs. Yeah, they're basically saying in their docs, if your event has multiple dates or times with different ticket offerings for each, so like workshops and talks, create a single event with one start date and one end date. Then create a ticket type for each date or time slot. Hide the start and end date of the overall event to make sure the correct date shows on printed tickets. But with that setup, you would end up with a cart page that was like talks, how many tickets do you want? Workshops, how many tickets do you want? And you would type in 3 and 2, And if it needed the attendee information for each type, you would have to enter that person's details twice, because that setting in the Eventbrite admin area is per ticket type. So I think that's their way around it. Whereas when we looked at event create, they had another level of hierarchy, which was sessions. And I don't know what they did in terms. I think it was, I can't remember the name of that company. I think it was Event Create. They had this extra layer called sessions, but I don't know if that allowed you to only put the attendee information in once and have one attendee represented. But don't forget, when we say attendee in the modeling, we don't mean user. We mean attendee as an attendee to that individual event. And a user can be an attendee to multiple events. So you could still log into your account and see 3 tickets. You would still see workshop and what was the other one? Talks. Because you as a user are an attendee to those 2 separate things. So you aren't screwing the user over particularly. And I think email address, I guess, is just the kind of key that is used there. That must be, because that's what you log in with. Okay, so well, we actually have a working thing that's end to end. I mean, it looks like nothing, but essentially, theoretically, we could have. So this just says ticket type, but this could be like early bird. So everything would be grouped around an event. So there would be an event ID that was like, I've just skipped over that abstraction existing, but this could all be for event number 1, 2, 3. And then you could have early bird tickets. That would be ID 1 or whatever. You could then have like general admission, whatever. And then you can put in a quantity, and then you can put in a price, which we skipped over also. It then chops up the line item, chops up into separate line items, and creates the attendees for those. And then at the next step of this purchase process, you would iterate over each line item grouped by product type, because you would need to treat each one differently. So if they'd bought a t-shirt, you would need to, I don't know, ask for customization information, whatever. Like you basically need to customize the line itemable for each thing they've purchased. And in the instance of like attendees, you're either going to ask for the ticket buyer information and then a form for each attendee. And at that point, you are operating on those attendee records. Also, at this point here, when you're creating these, would need to be the allocation logic and all of the race conditioning stuff around that, because at this point here, when you're doing attendee.create, you are taking that allocation slot. So if there are 10 slots available for that ticket type for that event left, and you type in 3 and you create 3, you have to pre-allocate those for like whatever. You could just use a timestamp and say, right, this expires at this point, and you'd have to do all that here to then have that period to go through and complete the rest of the checkout process. Is any of this a good idea? And we want to get back to our actual goal, which is groups. With this level of complexity, we then want to talk about grouping these attendees and allowing them to group themselves. So when we looked at the Eventbrite user interface, another drink. When we looked at the Eventbrite user interface, you can turn on the allow group tickets at a ticket type level. and they insert that point at the beginning of the ticketing journey for the user. They say like, are you buying for yourself or are you buying for a group? And then they make you find the group. You can't, or find or create the group. And so you have to either know the name or you create another one. And that that then affects everything. So let's say that you join a group at the first step of that UI. That basically must just set a value that wraps around your entire order, and any group tickets that you purchase within that just get assigned to that group. No, because you can only buy groups that you must then only be able to buy tickets of that ticket type. Right, okay. And how does this then factor? Let's say, I think this might be where we leave it and come back to this next week. And really dive in on the group side of things. Because this is like, I don't know what other people think of this. Might be like compared to when we're diving into gems and stuff, like not interesting to people, but it's interesting to me, and that's why I'm streaming about it. But I think this idea of how do we allow people to buy? Okay, well, let's take a quick run on it. So you might say like it could be, at what level does a group exist? At the event level, I think, because in Eventbrite it happens at the ticket type level, which negates you from having groups with users, not attendees, that have purchased multiple ticket types. So you can have but you probably want to have a group that has like 2 family tickets, that has the attendees that have purchased family tickets. Oh man, yeah. Even if you're not, what happens if you're not collecting per attendee information? How are you then allowing groups at all? That's why it must be done at the ticket type level. If you're not asking people for, let's say you buy 3 family tickets and each family ticket represents 5 people, and you've said, yeah, we're part of a group. So you've done what? 15, you've allocated 15 slots, but you have no way for those people to actually log in and register that they're part of the group. Although it could just be like that you could just say that doesn't matter. Right, I'm going to dive into this next week, I think. Okay, I don't know quite if we're going to do anything with any of this stuff, because I do want to actually produce a real. The goal of the ticketing stuff is to actually produce a real application that we can use. But I don't know if like I said earlier, I am inserting a bunch of complexity over this. I'm not sure that that's useful to actually try and ship anything. I think it's useful to think through, but I think maybe shipping something, we would just do a simpler version of this, like not try and handle, like maybe not bother trying to handle all of like having other things in here. Maybe just have a start from event and then have ticket types and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. I might give that some thought during the week. Yeah. So I'm gonna wrap this up. But thank you so much for everyone who watched or dropped by. I think we made more progress this week than last. Maybe, well, I felt like it. Maybe that's not true. But feel free to let me know feedback for people watching these. There's a link to like my Twitter in the YouTube comments. Thank you to everyone who gives thumbs up or does whatever you do on Facebook or Twitch or whatever, on YouTube or Twitch or whatever. It is appreciated. And yeah, we'll do it again. Like I said, so I do want to do another stream around like Sketch, because we did one for Figma, and I am interested. I haven't renewed my Sketch license, so I haven't got a lot of the new fancy stuff, but I think I might do just to have a play around with this. And we did start by looking at the UI and how that might affect some of the, like how we would want to do things, which I found really useful to feed into a lot of these conversations. I say conversations, these thought processes around building this stuff out. And yeah, I'm going to hopefully do a stream about Sketch before next week. Let's not try and overcommit, but that's the plan. So yeah, have a wonderful week, everyone. It's like I said, it's a bank holiday here in the UK. Have a wonderful bank holiday weekend if you've got the day off tomorrow. Enjoy your week, and if I don't see you before, I will see you all next Sunday. Have a wonderful week.